This orangutan makes the most of the last tasty fruits on a curious tree. But all this richness and diversity of plants and animals does not mean that life is easy. There may be a huge diversity of life, but often food is scarce. And it is essentially for this reason that the orangutan is famously solitary. Despite the abundance of life here, the forest does not in fact produce enough food for large groups of orangutans to survive together. So they will usually fend for themselves in order to feed without competition. That is, unless they find a tree that has produced a plentiful harvest of fruit. When this happens, a few orangutans will meet and, for a while, foster close and beneficial social relationships, assuming there are no dominant males around. Females and the young will happily play and interact together. But eventually they will resume their solitary and nomadic life. These social events have much to do with the rain. The forests of these huge islands are drenched on an almost daily basis by tropical storms. The rain almost never alters the customs of the forest inhabitants. But some plants do react to the rain, such as the chaste mimosa, whose leaves will contract with the first drops to avoid the thunderous impact of the storms. Such huge quantities of rain give life to numerous streams that converge in very large rivers. Crocodiles, the most feared predator of this environment. Any animal that dares come near the river to drink, let alone try to cross it, may become the giant reptile's meal. In the darkest, murkiest waters of the jungle river, crocodiles are bound up in a constant duel. During the mating season, the battle for territory heightens, as each male claims his ground and makes it known to his neighbors. On this occasion, discretion is the better part of valor for the weaker pretender. The reproductive cycles of these old forests are closely interconnected with the currents of distant seas. Sunbirds collect nectar and seeds with their sharp, curved beaks. And parrots look for fresh seeds. All depend on the tropical ocean current known as El Niño and its associated weather phenomena. Every 4 years, it causes a dry period when the blossoming of almost 90% of tree species becomes synchronized. And it would seem that the reproductive cycle of orangutans and other animals is linked to these prolific years. So females come into heat at these times, and a few months later, their young are born. Orangutans share the jungle with the strangest of invertebrates and the rest of their many neighbors, all linked by mysterious, invisible bonds. A lowly heap of orangutan droppings is a treasure, helping to disperse and germinate many of the seeds of trees so coveted by the wildlife of Borneo, such as these odd-looking hornbills with their massive beaks, which depend on these fruits to survive. The jungle of Borneo is one of the most primitive and least known woodland habitats on the planet. Until merely a few decades ago, thanks to its isolation and its age, one of the greatest treasures of biodiversity in the world was utterly pristine. And even today, despite the